Tales of Graces is getting a port to modern hardware. And this is not only incredible, but also has resulted in a tease of something even bigger for the Tales series. Well, not bigger for me. I'll get into my thoughts on the Graces Remaster in a minute, but I'm going to talk about the other stuff that got announced with it. That other stuff being the Remastered project. For those who don't know, Tales of 30th Anniversary is next year. And that's cool and all, but to celebrate, they're going to be announcing some stuff, you know, usual big anniversary celebration stuff, and the Japanese website currently has effectively two things on it. The aforementioned Remaster project, and Tales of Graces itself. Now, take everything aside from the Tales of Graces stuff for now, with a grain of salt, since, this is being machine translated from Japanese. I can't speak Japanese, I cannot actually translate this for you guys. So, I'm going solely off of Google Translate here. So, take everything with a grain of salt. But if what the machine translated website says is true, it sounds like they're planning on at least announcing multiple remastered Tales of games. Mostly because it heavily uses plurals. Again, I have nothing to actually confirm this, given it does seem all the more likely with the fact that of all games to have gotten an announced remaster, it was Graces. Which I am ecstatic for. Again, we will talk about that when we talk about Graces Remastered at the second half of this video. But Graces has never exactly been the most popular game in the series, or the one that would sell well, or really the one I would have ever thought would get a remaster. But with the advent of potentially more remasters being announced, one I see thrown a lot is Xillia. And yeah, Xillia is definitely one of the ones that is the most popular and also would be the easiest to remaster, because the fact is, Xillia, Graces, all of the PS3 titles really don't need much work to be thrown on modern hardware. Realistically, you can upscale most of them to 1080p and call it there, and most people would be happy. And at that, Xillia, Xillia 2, and Dawn of the New World are the only PS3 games that either do not have announced versions for modern hardware, or that are already on modern hardware out of all of the games that released on the PlayStation 3. Given Dawn of the New World is kinda screwed, mostly because both the Steam version of Tales of Symphonia and Tales of Symphonia Remastered are based off of Symphonia Chronicles. With Dawn of the New World cut out of it, Bandai Namco and the Tales of team have actively attempted to remove Dawn of the New World from existence. So, its odds are not likely. But as for the Xillias, I actually think the best case scenario, and probably the best option, would just be Tales of Xillia Chronicles. You just throw Xillia 1 and 2 together in a bundle. I think that's the case. Those who just want Xillia 1, if they've played both, hey, Bandai Namco gets a little extra money, because maybe they can charge an additional $5-10 for both games than they would have just charged for Xillia itself. And for those who want to experience both games, either replaying or it's their first time around, you have a better deal. It's a good scenario for everyone involved, and, you know, better than just leaving the sequel in the dust. Now look, I actually cannot comment on Xillia 2's quality at all. It is one of the only modern Tales games I have not played. That and Arise. And look, I haven't heard the best things about Xillia 2, but realistically, even the worst games deserve to still be preserved. So, again, even if it's mostly just, we are remastering Tales of Xillia, and we also threw in Xillia 2 here so the game doesn't get forgotten to time and only be available through piracy, I'm good with that. Frankly, porting games that don't need much work to modern hardware for a lower price is a great solution to game preservation. Though, you may notice when I'm talking about potential games that could get a remaster similar to Grace's, since there seems to be potentially one more on the table, if not more, I'm gravitating almost exclusively to the PS3 titles. Actually, solely exclusively out of what I've said. And that is solely just because, from a company corporate perspective, these games need very little work to be thrown on modern hardware, compared to porting other games. Because, realistically, aside from the obvious things of making it work on modern hardware, which you'd have to do no matter what game you port, they all hold up really well because, frankly, they're not too old to the point they don't work. Again, most of these games, visually, look pretty solid. Genuinely, you can easily upscale them to 1080p and call it there. And that's why I gravitate to those, because I think they're the most likely, because a corporation who just wants to do that, it's much easier than something like Tales of the Abyss. And the reason I'm less likely to, especially some of the PS2 titles, the handheld titles, or earlier, is mostly because a lot of these would either need more bug fixes or fine-tuning, or, frankly, I would much rather just see get a full, proper remake. Tales of the Abyss is an amazing game that, at the very least, needs a remaster, but ideally, a full remake keeping the gameplay and story fully intact, but with updated visuals. Frankly, that'd be amazing. That, and until editing this part, I kinda forgot the game was in widescreen and thought it was in 4x3. Which would have required more work, because 4x3 game, you'd need to do some more fine-tuning to make widescreen work properly without being finicky. Point being, I forgot the game supported widescreen. And another one I do see thrown around a bit is some of the Tales games that never got English localizations. Which, that'd be awesome. Genuinely. Especially even if you just threw a bunch of the older ones that didn't get proper English localizations or English localizations at all in a collection for something closer to full video game price, and it's like 2 or 3 older Tales games just upscaled and localized. That'd be pretty cool. But it is kind of in that camp of the further back we go, the harder it is to go, is this worth remastering? Or should we just remake the game from scratch? Either way, let's actually talk about the announcement that started all of this, the Grace's remaster. Also known as the thing I wanted to see most from the Tales of series. Like, this isn't hyperbole or anything. Genuinely, aside from a new game, Grace's remaster was the thing I wanted to see the most, ever since we got our hands on Vesperia Definitive Edition. And that may sound weird, but for clarification, Vesperia was an Xbox, I think 360 and PS3 game, got remastered on Steam with gorgeous visuals, and it is almost entirely just lighting engine update. That is what I wanted, because Grace's is my favorite game in the series, and I wanted this for that. Is this gonna be a Vesperia Definitive Edition? Absolutely not. Vesperia Definitive Edition added so much more because said content never got an English release prior to that game. But I never really wanted that from Grace's. What I wanted was just the lighting engine. Genuinely just taking the slight visual upgrade Vesperia got and giving that to Grace's. Because Grace's is my favorite game in the entire series, and it's no competition. I adore Grace's. And it may not have the best story, but the actual gameplay and characters are so incredible. Genuinely, it is my favorite Tales game because it just feels so fun to fight enemies. Because dodging around in circles is just such a fun gameplay mechanic that really no other game in the series really has. I mean, yes, Zestiria has that same core aspect of gameplay, but despite it coming out after, it just didn't do it nearly as well, partly because Zestiria's camera is atrocious. But for me, this really is a dream come true, because aside from a new Tales game with co-op that built on the building blocks of games like Abyss and Grace's Remaster was easily #1. I am so excited to play this game again for the second time. Because if there was any Tales game I was going to go back to, it's this one. I just haven't because I'm focused more on finishing up the very small list of games I still have to play through, at least out of the ones with co-op. But for me, Grace's is not only my first Tales game, not only my favorite, but easily the most underlooked game in the entire series. Because will I think something like Abyss is objectively a better game? It gets the love and praise it deserves, while Grace's has just been left in the shadows of its siblings. I'm excited to see what the future of this series has to hold. Whether that be remasters, new games, or honestly, whatever. I think next year is going to be pretty exciting. Either way, I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye!